Hi everybody, this is Oksana. In this video, we are going to be making a Tree of Life pendant, but my goal here is to make the simplest tree that I could think of. I simplified everything about this that I could, including the bale, so there's no weaving involved. So this is great if you are making your first ever Tree of Life pendant, or if you are just new to wire wrapping in general. This is a very beginner friendly tutorial, as much as it can be when it comes to trees anyways, because trees tend to be a little bit more tedious, a little bit more fiddly. So I tried to make this one as simple as I could to make this easy for you. And a huge thank you to Rio Grande for sponsoring this video. I'm using their wonderful copper wire as well as their tools here to make this pendant. So let's go ahead and get started. The two types of wire that we're going to be using are both round wire, and we have here 18 gauge and 26 gauge. This is the thinner one, this is the thicker one. And these spools of copper wire I got from riogrande.com. This is dead soft copper. I'm going to be using these two tools as well. You can find these on Rio Grande's website also. These are the Swanstrom brand wire cutters to cut our wire, and then these are the pliers that I'm going to be using. They are the Lindstrom brand RX 7890. For our wires, we're going to need the following. So that 18 gauge round wire, we are going to need one piece of it, and mine is about 12 inches long. That should be plenty if you cut it to 12 inches. Now, if you're wondering if you can use a slightly thinner wire, like 20 gauge is the most common. So that might be one that you already have on hand versus this slightly thicker one, which is 18 gauge. It is possible to use 20 gauge. I find that when making a tree and making the frame, this is going to be used for our frame, it is really helpful if you're using a slightly thinner one like 20 gauge to hammer it for strength, and not everybody might have the tools to do that. So that's why I'm using this 18 gauge, which is kind of sturdy and strong enough without needing to mess around with it or hammer it or anything. But I will show you how to hammer in this video, so that will be an option. If you have only 20 gauge, I would just hammer it to make it a little bit stronger. That's all, after you make the frame. And then the other wires are thinner, 26 gauge wire here. We are going to need 5 pieces, and they're almost 10, a little bit less than 10. I'm just going to say 10, just round it up and say 10 inches long. So 5 pieces, 10 inches long. And then for our stone, I find the easiest shape to do is an oval. So I highly recommend doing an oval stone first, and then you can move on to try other shapes, but oval will be the easiest. Mine is about 35 millimeters, or if we're looking at inches, it's almost 1.5 inches. It's just a smidge less. As you can see, this longer line here is 1.5 inches, so mine's just like a smidge less. So anywhere in this vicinity, it could be slightly bigger. That's not a problem. It could be smaller, but just a smidge smaller. I wouldn't go too much smaller than this personally, because it becomes harder to do if your stone is really small. Fitting the tree on there, it gets like really fiddly. You start running out of space for it, especially on the back when you're attaching. So I highly recommend around this size, around 1.5 inches in size. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to use this one piece of the thicker wire that we had to make our frame. The frame is going to go in the back of your stone. So you want to fold the wire roughly in half. So take one end and the other end and just kind of bring them together This is what happens. It starts to just kind of fold in half, and you get this little curve here. And here is my stone. So I want that to go on the back of my stone. And the important thing about the frame is it needs to be smaller than your stone. I would recommend making it quite a bit smaller, because if you try to make it like right on the edge there and it ends up being slightly bigger accidentally, what's going to happen is you might see a little bit of that kind of peeking around the edge of your stone. So it's better to make it significantly smaller. Like nothing bad happens if the frame is too small. Whereas if it's too big, you might be able to see it from the front. So I recommend just kind of squishing this until you see that it fits like that on the back of your stone. And then let's just kind of center it. So now we just need to bring these together at the top. So I'm just gonna very gently and carefully bend them one by one. The goal is to have where they crisscross each other be kind of in the middle here, the top middle. So not too much to any one side. So you want the entirety of the frame, including this portion here where the wires crisscross, to be on the back of the stone, not to be peeking out. So you want it to be small enough where the whole thing, including this crisscross part, fits on the back of the stone. So what we're gonna do now is twist here at that little crisscross area. Like that. And this is the part that might take a little bit of practice. It's kind of hard to twist two wires together to get a nice even twist. What I find is that as long as these wires are kind of at the same angle, so like imagine there's a line going through the middle here, as long as they're the same kind of equal distance from that middle line, they twist nicely. But if one of them starts to kind of get more straight, then another wire can start winding on to it rather than having an even twist like this, if you know what I mean. So just try to keep them at this kind of angle where they're open and equal distance from the middle. And also another hint is to twist them very slowly and carefully. If you just try to rush and speed through it, that's where I find mistakes happen. Because if you're going slow and you notice something is wrong and needs to be adjusted, you have the time to do that. All right, so very slowly and carefully, continuing to twist these two wires, kind of looking that these haven't changed and they're still kind of equidistant there. Twisting it again. This is going to be our bail. I find that this is the easiest way to make a bail, so you don't have to bother with weaving, because weaving can be difficult for people if you're just starting out. So even though the twist is a little tricky, I find that it's manageable and it's easier than weaving. All right, so there we go. Just gonna keep going with it. It needs to have some height because we're gonna bend it into our bail shape. So we have to do this for a little bit. This might be enough. Let me measure it. So it's about 1 inch, and I think that should be good enough. So what we're gonna do is, if you kind of see any bumps in your twist, you can actually use your pliers to try and fix it and just make it more even. basically your pliers kind of press on some of the little twists there. And I'm gonna show you now how to hammer. You don't have to hammer, but if you have a slightly thinner wire, if you didn't have 18 gauge like I did, and you only have 20, hammering will be really beneficial. It strengthens the metal. So to hammer, you need something to hammer on, something strong that, you know, can resist being hit with a hammer. So I have this iron block here that I got ages ago from, I believe it was Michael's. And you need a chasing hammer. This is a chasing hammer. It basically has a really flat side like this, and then this rounded side, which we're not going to be using. I got this on eBay for really cheap, like a million years ago. So what we're going to do is just very gently hit this frame with this flat side of the hammer. So as you can see, it's looking a little bit flatter there, the wire, instead of being rounded. And you can even feel that it's sturdier now. You don't want to just really smash it, because then it's going to have some really flat portions versus some less flatter portions, and it's going to give it kind of an uneven, almost like jaggedy look. Whereas if you do it gently, it just flattens it a little bit, and it's enough. It's still quite strong. And another thing you could do is you can hammer this twist. But if you choose to do that, be really careful. If you hammer it too much, it becomes brittle, and it's going to be hard to bend it into our bale shape. So if you choose to hammer it, do it really, really gently and very lightly. Do not hammer it too much. All right, so let's continue here. Whether you chose to hammer or not, doesn't matter. This is where we're going to be continuing now. So right where the wires crisscross and our twist starts, I'm going to hold that with my pliers, and I'm going to bend this just ever so slightly forward. I'm getting ready to make my bale, and my bale is going to be a curved shape. So ever so slightly forward like this. And a lot of times I bend my bale kind of using my finger like this. I press with my finger and I kind of curve it almost like around my finger. This may not be for everyone. I personally find this to be the easiest. But if you don't, what you can do is use something round like a pencil and curve it around the pencil instead. Some people might find this to be easier. And what we're doing is creating this bale that you can see. And where the twist starts and where the twist ends are kind of lined up. So once you have it like this, you can remove your pencil and you can just bring it together to kind of close it up like this. So with my pliers, I'm just kind of bending this bottom just like a little bit outwards. Since it was going in this direction, it was gonna, you know, get in the way, so I just kind of made it go straight down here, these wires here. So they're just going straight down, and I'm just closing up this loop here like that. So this is going to be our bale, our twisted bale. And these wires here, we're gonna have to attach them on the back here. They'll be hidden on the back. So what I'm gonna do is just make them a little bit more narrow so they fit inside of this frame like that. And then I'm gonna come in here and towards the bottom, not on the very bottom, but just like maybe 3/4 of the way down, I'm gonna cut them like that. So this is my excess that I no longer need. And here's what that looks like. And then with my pliers, I'm gonna take the very end of this wire here, and I'm just gonna turn it like this so that the end comes around and touches the wire itself. So it's going right back into that wire, and you can press down on it as well just to make sure it's nice and flat. That way the wire end is hidden. You shouldn't be able to feel it. It's going right into the wire. It's not poking up. All right, and it's forming like a little loop like this. And then the same thing here on this other end. Just kind of turn it and have it go right into that wire. You can even just kind of close that up a little bit if there's a gap remaining. And these loops are going to be attached to the edge. So if they need to be kind of moved slightly to be closer to the edge, feel free to do that. And here's what that looks like. The way that this is going to be positioned on our stone is this portion here is going to be touching the back of our stone like that, so that the portion with the loops, I know it's kind of raised and sticking up a little bit right now, but we'll be attaching the loops so they'll be down like this. That's the part that is going to be facing you if you're looking at the back of your pendant like that. All right. So now it's time for the other wires that we cut, those 5 wires. We're going to take them. Let's line them up and take one end and the other end, bring them together, fold them in half. So we folded them in half now. And now we're going to work with one wire at a time. So we're going to take one wire. We are going to go on the bottom here. It doesn't matter if you hold it like this or if you hold it like this. It kind of just sits there like that since we folded it and we have this little bump. So what you want to do is just take the wire and we're going to wrap it around. So we're going to bring it up and through one more time. Okay, and then down. So now it's wrapped around and now it's not going to move. It's attached. So if we look here, I'm going to kind of squish a little bit here, this wire. Bring the wires together like that. And with the very first one that we attached, we are going to take a look and determine how long we want our roots to be. So our roots are, instead of being just straight like this wire, they're kind of bumpy. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can leave the wire straight. It's totally up to you, but I'll show you how to make the bumpy roots. So I'm grabbing the 2 little wires. They're kind of lined up side by side. I'm kind of turning them this way so I can see them both, one on top of the other. And I'm using my pliers to bend. See how I made a bend? Then I'm grabbing and bending the other way, making a little zigzag. Then I'm grabbing and bending this way and just continuing with this little zigzag. So that's gonna be my bumpy roots. If you want them to be a little bit more curved rather than having these sharper points, instead of using pliers like this, you can use round nose pliers if you want. So let me do it one more time, and then I'll show you what we're gonna do to determine if this is long enough. So what's gonna happen is we're gonna have our stone. It's gonna be sitting like this with these little loops here, like that. And let's go ahead and center it. Let's pretend this is like the finished piece. So this is how it's gonna be. So this wire is going to bend around the bottom edge, and it's going to bend onto the front of the stone like this. And this is how much of the roots we are going to see here on the bottom. So we're going to see just these little bends, and then we'll just twist the wires together for the trunk. So just take a look. Is that enough for you? Do you want your roots to go slightly taller or shorter? This is actually good looking for me. I think that's enough. Just like a little bit of roots visible on the bottom here, not too much. I think that's perfect. So now that I've determined that, I can straighten this back out. When we do our next wire, we can gauge it off of this. We know this is the right amount of bends. This is the right length. So I'm going to take my next wire and I'm going to wrap it around. So just bring that all the way around. Squish those together. So they're side by side. Just kind of turn it a little bit towards me. Our little zigzag bends here. Just like that, and let's take a look. Is this the same as the other one? So let's put it side by side. Perfect. They're the same. This is the length that we're going for. So that's 2 out of the 5 wires attached. I'm gonna go ahead and attach the third wire. Kind of squish this together. Turn, and let's do the little zigzaggy bends here. Let's see, is that a good length? Yep, they're all similar length. 2 more wires left to go. All right, let's line that up and check. Okay, they're all looking similar. And last wire. Put that through, wrap it around. And let's do the bends. Oops, I moved all the way to the top. All right, slide down. And let's take a look. Yep, looks good. They all look to be about the same. So let's make sure that these are centered on the very bottom here. You can kind of press on them if they got like a little bit bumpy. So let's press on them. Have them centered here at the bottom. And here's a little tip that'll keep things from sliding out of your hands. Using some painter's tape. The reason I'm using painter's tape and not regular tape is because this doesn't leave a sticky residue. So I'm just getting a little piece here, just gonna hold it We're going to use it in a second. I'm getting it ready. So I'm going to take my stone. This is a part that touches the stone. Remember, the way you can tell is these are the little loops here. They go facing you on the back. So line this all up, center it on the back of your stone. Then we're going to take our piece of tape here and we're going to stick it across the back. It's not going to hold everything in place yet, okay, but it's going to start holding it a little bit. But you still have to press on your stone for now. And now we're going to take these and bend them from the back to the front like this. And then here on the front, we are going to take them. Let's try to keep them together. Sometimes one of them might kind of slide away. Just put it back. Okay, so here's our roots, just like we wanted, just a little bit, not too tall. And we are going to twist these wires together, just kind of turn them. You can use your pliers. I personally find it easier to do with my hands. I don't know why, than pliers. Pliers can kind of squish them too much. So I'm twisting them all together, and you can see that look of them being twisted together. That's going to be the trunk of our tree. So let me twist it a little bit more. Okay, so that's the trunk of the tree. And if we hold it this way, this is how it's going to be positioned, and the trunk is going to have branches coming off of it. Now before we do that, before we do the branches and everything, if you look at the trunk, if you like the way it looks, just going straight up like this, you can leave it. If you want to make it a little curvy, I'm going to show you how to do that. Just for looks, this is just for looks. Take your pliers and you just put a bend in it. It'll look like a more kind of twisted, curvy, bendy tree. So you may like that look, you may not like that look. It's up to you whether you do it or not. But here's the difference between a straight up trunk and a bendy trunk like this. All right, now we're going to take this tape. We still have to make our branches, so we don't want the tape to get in the way of that. So what I'm going to do is, as I bend it, I'm going to kind of pull it downwards. So it's going down at an angle like this. I'm going to press it down so it's covering a part of my trunk and it's covering my roots. Same thing with this piece. But here where I'm going to make my branches, here where my trunk ends, this part is not covered. The tape is not going to get in my way here. Now with the branches, you have a lot of kind of artistic freedom here. You can have a big thick branch and then some little ones. You can really experiment with this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 of these little wires here. Let's see, I'm just trying to, they're twisted together, so I'm just trying to figure out which ones would be like right next to each other. So you can see right there. I've separated them out. There's 3 wires there. All right, so that's on the left side. And then here on the right side, see what I mean? When you try to separate them, take a look at what's happening. They're coming out of different areas. So that's why I'm trying to kind of find ones that would be good, would be like right next to each other. Like these 3. These 2 are kind of like not low enough. So we have 3 here, 3 here, and that leaves 4 wires here. So the 4 wires that are left, we're just going to give them a little twist. kind of twist them together, continue the trunk of our tree. All right, so it looks like that. So now with our 3 wires, I'm gonna give them a twist and make a branch. And this whole time, while we're doing this, we can see exactly how this branch looks up against our stone. We can see how long it is or short, and determine whether it's something that you like or whether you want to change it up. So I'm gonna separate this bottommost wire out, and I'm gonna take just the 2 wires that are left. I'm gonna twist them together for a continuation of that branch. So it's a branch, and then it has kind of one piece coming out of it here, and then these 2 pieces here like that. And if you want to, just like we did with the trunk, you can put some bends into this branch and make it kind of a bendy, curvy branch rather than just a straight branch, but that is totally up to you. All right, so just like that. And now we have this right here. So we're gonna twist these 3 together as well. We're basically doing the same thing we just did, but we did it on that side, and now we're doing it on this side here. So twisting those 3 together. And now you can just take one of these wires out. So instead of the bottom one, I'm gonna do the top one now. It's gonna be the opposite that we did here. So removing this top one and twisting the remaining 2 together. Like that. So here is our branch. And again, if you want to curve it a little bit, put some bends in it, feel free to do that just with your pliers. So here it is there. All right, so now we have our 2 branches completed, and now we just have these 4 wires here. So the 4 wires, I am going to separate them into 2 groups of 2, like that, and I'm going to twist one of the groups of 2 a little bit, like that, and then the other one. And one thing that you don't want happening with your branches as you make them is when you're twisting them together, you want that twist to stop before you get to the edge of your stone. Like, you don't want to twist it all the way up and then have it just be going all the way across, because you want to be able to have the wires here and be able to separate them. Then it really looks like a tree branch, and then it spreads into 2, you know? So I've separated it out, those 2 and these 2. So these are our 4 top wires here. Here's what that looks like. I am going to kind of curve it a little bit, make it a little bit bendy by using my pliers there, just to add some kinks and curves. Again, you don't have to do that. You can keep the branches all nice and straight. That's just another look. I'm gonna have just like a really crooked, gnarly tree, Halloween tree. All right, so take a good look at that. This is going to be very similar to your final result. I'm going to give this one more little twist here. I feel like that would look better if that was just a little bit taller. There we go. So take a good look at your tree. See if you're satisfied with the way that it looks. And what I'm going to do now is the centermost branches here. This one and this one. So these two. See how they're kind of the most in the center? See how they're naturally crisscrossing right now? I'm gonna leave that. Make them crisscross if yours are not. And so you have one going on one side of the bale and one going on the other side of the bale like this, while crisscrossing right there. So then here, on the other side, here they are, those two wires. So we're gonna take one of them and we are just gonna push it underneath the frame. If you're having a hard time getting it under the frame, what you can do is just push on your bale slightly, and that's gonna lift the frame from the stone and allow you to wedge the wire in there. Okay, so now we're gonna grab the wire and just pull on it. Everything should still be centered. The tape usually helps hold everything, but in case something moved like to the side and now your little frame isn't centered, feel free to adjust it at this point. All right, so that's made one wrap around our frame. So now I'm going to put it underneath again and make another wrap. So that's 2, 3, and 4. One more. We're gonna do 5. All right, and 5, just like that. What I find can happen when I'm working on one side, it can shift my frame a little bit, so you might need to adjust it back if it pushed it in one direction, but it seems to have stayed centered, so that's all good. So once you've done that, you can take your wire cutters and trim this, but leave an end. I'll show you how long of end to leave. So you can kind of see that wire end there sticking up. The reason we need that is so we can take it. I know there's not a lot of room here. There's a lot of things in the way, but just bear with it. It'll get better as you move further down the frame. Just take that little wire end, curve it down with your pliers, and then press down on it like this. And now the wire end is hidden away. See, you can't see it or feel it. It's going downwards, just like that. Now this other wire from the other side. So same thing, working it under the frame. I'm gonna wrap it around 5 times, just like we did before. So that is 2. This is gonna be 3 and 4. And 5. If your end is getting all bent and it's hard to work with it, just take your pliers and just press on it to make it straight again and not bent. And in a worst case scenario, if it's just really messed up, you can even just trim off the end if it's making you struggle. All right, so now I'm gonna trim it. And that little wire end, there it is. With our pliers, take it, curve it down, and press down on it. So we got rid of the wire end. Here's what our back looks like. From the front, we have attached these 2 wires, and they are crisscrossing a little bit. It's kind of hard to see that crisscross. I was trying to make it more visible, but instead I just kind of like smushed everything. Let me get my pliers in there. There we go. Now you can really see how they're crisscrossing there. All right, let's take a look at our next branches, at our next wires. So the next one after these that we attached is this one here. And then we have these. So if we attach them all the way they are currently, this is how it's going to look. I don't love this little gap here between where this one ends and then where this little branch begins. So what I'm going to do, feel free to do this, or you don't have to if you don't want to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to crisscross it with that wire, like that. See how they're crisscrossed now? So I'm actually going to attach this wire. Let me bend it to the back so I know I'm attaching it next. So I'm attaching this wire next, not this wire, because I want them to crisscross. You don't have to do that, just if you like how it looks. So I'm going to take it and just wrap it around. We can just do 4 times now. I did 5 when we first started because I feel like those are the more important wires that just really hold everything. And now that we've done that, the remaining branches, we can just wrap them 4 times. It's not a problem. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh, come on. There we go. And then remember the one that crisscrossed it? So that one would be next. Okay. So I'm just going to attach them both and then I'll trim and tuck away the wire ends. So also 4 times. So 1, oops, the end of it got bent. 2, 3, 4. All right, so now they're both attached, and here's how it looks from the front. So here in the back, let's trim the wire ends. Trim, trim. And let's take those wire ends and curve them downwards and then press down and kind of tuck them away like that, one at a time. So that was one, and here is the other. All right, now I'm just taking a look, making sure nothing moved out of place. It looks like my frame ever so slightly moved in this direction. Since I was working on this side, I kind of pulled it that way. So I'm gonna adjust it and move it, oop, too much, move it a little bit in the other direction. So I'll work on this side now. It's good to attach a little bit on one side, a little bit on the other side versus just doing the whole side, then you might just shift everything. All right, so since I did those 2 wires here, now we'll do the same thing on the other side. So I'll also crisscross them. So I have this wire and this wire. I will crisscross them like so, and I will attach them. So here's the first one. Coming here on the back, working it underneath 4 times. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. All right, and now the next wire, the one that's crisscrossing it here, I'm going to take that and do that 4 times also. So 1, 2, and 3, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it is pouring rain outside right now. All right, so we finished both of those. Let's trim and tuck away the wire ends. Tuck that one away. And tuck this other one down. And there we go. Let's push it all up. Perfect. So here's the back. Everything's still good and centered. All right, so here's the front. So we have 2 wires left on each side to attach. So these 2 and these 2. And I'm just gonna attach them in the exact order that they are currently. So this one is next, and this one, and then the very bottom ones. We'll leave those for last. All right, so let's do 4 wraps here. Oops, just came right out. So I did not do a lot of branches on this particular tree. Wanted to keep it simple for you guys. I find that it still looks good, like it doesn't look like the thinnest ever tree with no branches. Like I feel like this is the bare minimum. So it's good for a beginner while still being simple. However, if you are finding yourself in need of a challenge, I'm just going to trim and tuck this little wire end away. Feel free to add more wires. So not just 5 wires like I did, but feel free to do more. And then you're going to have a thicker, bushier tree. I'm going to attach this one on the other side now. Especially if your stone is a little bigger, that really helps it look good, because then the tree might look small in comparison to a large stone. So you might want to add more branches. So yeah, this is just kind of the basic bare minimum, and then you just go up from there and make your trees thicker and bushier as you get more comfortable with making trees. And of course, the more you do, the more tedious it's going to be, because now you have to attach all of these branches. If you have twice as many as I have here, it's going to take you longer to do. So I'm just going to trim and tuck away this wire end. All right. So we just have 1 branch left on each side. I'm going to remove the tape at this point because I want to attach the loops, and the loops are kind of being covered. You can theoretically just push the tape down to make space here. Actually, yeah, let's just do that. Let's just push the tape down. Reveal our loops. That's what we're going to be attaching. But if you take off the tape, it should be stable now. It's not going to like fall out your stone. So what I'm going to do for attaching the loops is I'm going to take my wire. First, I'm just going to wrap it around the frame 1 time, just near the loop here. Just give it a wrap like that. Line it up with your little loop. Now I'm going to put it through the loop and underneath the frame. See that? It's going through the loop, underneath the frame, so when I pull on it, you can see the little wrap that forms. I'm going to do that again, through the loop, underneath the frame. See that? Now the loop is attached. So now I'm going to wrap it 4 times around the frame only. So that's 2, 3, and 4. That way it's just nice and attached and it's not going to unravel. You can tighten this up. There's some gaps in mine, so I can just kind of bring it more together like this. And now I can trim and tuck away that little wire end there. Just like that. And if you had more branches and they were kind of continuing, you might be attaching more, you know, here underneath this area, but this is my last branch. That's really just going to be the case if you try to make this tree with more branches. Then you might, you know, need to put them further down to make them all fit. So I'm wrapping around the frame only next to my loop, putting it through my loop and underneath the frame, just like that. And one more time, just to make sure that loop is really well attached. All right. And let's just wrap around the frame only 4 times, and then we'll be ready to trim this wire off. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And trim. And let's tuck away our wire end. And let's bring this all a little bit closer together. So there we have it. Let's remove the tape. All right, so here's how that looks. So what we have to do now is just finishing touches on our branches here, putting some curves into them. Since I did lots of curves everywhere, these are very straight by comparison. So make it all match, taking my pliers and just putting bends just like that into these branches here. And that's also gonna tighten them up as well. So just like that. And of course, feel free to make any adjustments if any of the branches you wish they were, you wish they were slightly different. You can adjust them a little bit, put more bends in them, or just kind of like, if I wanted to, I can move this branch a little bit. You can see that. And let's do this side now. Just think having these curvy or wavy branches makes it look a little more tree-like, almost kind of gives that feeling of leaves or something to the branches. So I really like doing this to my trees for a finishing touch. Almost done. These are the last 2 branches. And let's see how that looks. Let's see if there's anything I can adjust. All right, I think that looks good. And this is our kind of gnarly, curvy tree. There, you can see it clearly this way when the Labradorite is not shining versus this way. Makes it harder to see. But, oh, by the way, the stone is a Labradorite. I think I forgot to mention that. So it kind of shines when the light hits it. All right, so here's the finished piece here. One more look at it from all the angles, the back, the side. Here's our little roots on the bottom. So I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Leave me a like down below if you did, and don't forget to subscribe. I post new videos here every weekend. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.